Good news, everybody. As a lot of you guys have already heard, the SB 56 voter referendum has been approved by the state AG, Dave Youst. Now, with that being said, I've got a lot of information for you guys today, and I'm going to be delivering it to you guys in a little bit different way than I normally would. I took all the information about SB 56, the voter referendum, who's behind it, all of that relevant information, and I put it into Notebook LM, and I'm going to have it kind of describe to you guys what's going on. If you guys like this type of content, let me know. It feels very informative and educational, and it makes my life a whole lot easier than having to script out and explain everything to everyone. I feel like it did a really good job of explaining it, so let me know in the comments below. Do you want to see more content like this, or do you want me to just go back to yapping the way that I was previously? At the very end of this, as you guys know, we have to collect signatures. I will kind of give a brief update on that at the very end of this. Just that way people understand what the voter referendum is, what it's doing, and why it's so important first before we get into how I'll be collecting signatures, where I'll be collecting signatures, and all that good stuff. So check this out. I hope you guys enjoy.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is Friday, February 6th, 2026.
Yep.
Now, if you're listening to this in Ohio, you probably already know that today isn't just any Friday. It is effectively the start of a countdown.
It really is. We are watching a fascinating high-stakes collision happen in real time.
A collision between the state legislature and, well, the voters.
It really is the perfect storm of state politics. You have a clear voter mandate on one side and a government crackdown on the other, and they are colliding right now.
And it feels like we're staring down the barrel of a massive shift. We're talking about Ohio Senate Bill 56, or SB 56.
Right.
Now, for anyone sitting there thinking, wait a minute, didn't we settle the weed thing back in 2023 with Issue 2? You are not crazy.
No, not at all.
That is exactly why we're here, because the government has signed this huge overhaul bill that is set to completely rewrite the rules in just a few weeks.
That's the reality. Governor Mike DeWine signed this bill back in December, and unless a very specific, very difficult political maneuver succeeds, this law takes effect on March 20th.
The tension here is just palpable in the reporting. On one side, you have the proponents, Governor DeWine and his camp, saying this is about public safety. Closing loopholes.
Exactly. Closing dangerous loopholes, keeping kids safe. But on the other side, you have opponents just screaming that this is a gutting of the voters' will. They're calling it a sneak attack of recriminalization.
It's a classic battle of interpretation, right? Is this a refinement of the law to make it safer? Or is it a reversal of the law to make it harder?
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We are going to unpack exactly what is hiding inside SB 56.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the trunk rules and the packaging traps, things that could turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal overnight.
And we have to get into the incredibly strange political bedfellows this has created. Why is Big Weed siding with the politicians who fought legalization?
That's the part that just blows my mind.
It's a fascinating economic angle we need to get into.
And finally, we're going to look at the frantic race against the clock happening right now to stop this law before the March deadline. It's a lot to cover, but it's crucial. The outcome here sets a precedent for how legalization rolls out or gets rolled back across the entire country.
So let's get into the ins of SB 56. When I was reading through the bill summaries, my first thought was, this feels like more than just a minor tweak.
Oh, absolutely. It's a structural overhaul.
Yeah.
Governor DeWine signed this on December 19, 2025. It takes the framework from Issue 2, which, voters passed by a solid 57%.
A solid majority.
And it modifies it significantly. And we aren't talking about high-level corporate tax rates here. These changes impact the average consumer in very tangible, everyday ways.
The thing that jumped out at me immediately from the sources was the transportation rules. I mean, we all know you shouldn't drive while impaired. That's common sense. That's existing law. But SB 56 goes way beyond don't drive high, doesn't it?
Right. It introduces specific logistical mandates for your vehicle. We're calling it the trunk requirement.
The trunk requirement.
The mandate is that if you are transporting marijuana in your vehicle, it has to be stored in the trunk or, behind the rear seat.
Okay, play this out for me. I go to a dispensary, I buy a bag of gummies or some flour. It's sealed. I toss it onto my passenger seat to drive home. Under Issue 2, that was generally fine. Under SB 56.
You are technically in violation of the law.
Even if it's sealed?
Even if it's sealed.
Yeah.
The legislative intent here is to mirror the strictest interpretation of open container laws for alcohol. They want it physically out of reach of the driver.
Which sounds simple if you drive a sedan, but what if I drive a pickup truck?
Exactly.
Or a two-seater sports car where there is no behind the rear seat?
That is where the critics start getting loud.
Okay.
The law creates ambiguity for different types of vehicles. But honestly, the trunk rule is just the appetizer.
Okay.
The main course, and the part that has consumer advocates really worried, is the original packaging rule.
Yeah, this one felt like a trap waiting to happen. Tell us about this.
So, the bill requires that marijuana not only be stored in the trunk, but also be kept in its original dispensary packaging.
Okay.
On the surface, if you're a legislator, that sounds like a safety measure. You want to ensure the police know what the product is, what the potency is, that it's legal product.
Sure, that makes sense on paper. It's about identification.
But think about the practical application for a regular person.
Yeah.
You buy legal cannabis, you take it home, you open the package. Maybe you prefer to store your flower in a glass jar to keep it fresh.
Right, with a humidity pack or something.
Exactly. Or maybe you have a specific travel case you use.
Right, I put it in a jar. A week later, I want to take that jar to a friend's house for a game night.
As soon as you put that jar in your car, you are in violation of SB 56.
Just because it's not in the foil bag from the store.
Exactly. This is why opponents are using the word recriminalization. It effectively criminalizes carrying loose weed. It turns law-abiding citizens, people engaging in a completely legal activity, into offenders, simply because of the container they chose.
That feels like a massive shift from the spirit of legalization. It's like saying you can buy a six-pack of beer, but if you put one beer in a cooler to drive to a BBQ, you're breaking the law.
That is a very fair analogy. It prioritizes the proof of purchase over the legality of the substance itself. And it doesn't stop at transport. The bill also tightens the screws on what you can do at home.
Issue 2 was pretty generous with home grow, right? I remember seeing the numbers.
It was. The original voter-approved law allowed for 6 plants per person, up to 12 per household. It was designed to allow people to be self-sufficient. SB 56 modifies the possession limits.
How so?
While you can still grow, it lowers the cap on the usable amount you can store at home.
So if you have a really good harvest, you might accidentally possess illegal amounts of your own homegrown product.
Potentially, yes. It also implements a very strict ban on public consumption, smoking or vaping, anywhere in public with much firmer penalties. But there is one more piece of this we have to touch on. The Michigan connection.
Ah, yes. The road trip rule.
Precisely. SB 56 includes an out-of-state ban. This provision explicitly criminalizes bringing legally purchased marijuana from other states into Ohio.
Which is huge, because for years, Ohioans have been driving up to Michigan, where the market is more mature, prices are often lower.
Right. More variety. It's a very common practice.
Right.
Under SB 56, crossing that state line with Michigan products becomes explicitly illegal.
So if you step back and look at it, they are really trying to ring-fence the Ohio market, control how it moves, what it's stored in, and where it comes from.
They're building a silo, a very tightly regulated silo.
Yeah.
But if we want to talk about the biggest disruption, the thing that is causing the most noise economically, we have to talk about the intoxicating hemp ban.
This is the big one. Let's talk about Delta 8.
Delta 8, Delta 10, all their cousins.
For the listener who might see these at the gas station but doesn't really know the chemistry, what exactly are we talking about here?
So these are cannabinoids derived from hemp. Here's a short version. The 2018 federal farm bill legalized hemp. It defined hemp as cannabis with very low Delta-9 THC. That's the stuff that traditionally gets you high.
Right.
But clever chemists realized they could take CBD from legal hemp and convert it into Delta-8 THC, which also gets you high, but wasn't technically banned.
So it was a loophole.
A massive loophole. It created this huge gray market. Suddenly you could sell these intoxicating hemp products in gas stations, vape shops.
I see these everywhere. You walk into a gas station for a soda and there's a neon display of Delta 8 gummies right on the counter.
Exactly. And SB 56 just drops a hammer on this entire industry. It effectively bans the sale of these products outside of licensed marijuana dispensaries.
So if I own a vape shop and half my revenue comes from selling Delta 8.
You are in big trouble.
Yeah.
We aren't talking about a small dip in sales. For many of these independent retailers, this is an extinction-level event.
Wow.
This provision kills that market. It forces those products out of the general retail space entirely and locks them behind the doors of the licensed dispensaries.
Now, I want to play devil's advocate for a second. What is the rationale here? Why are Governor DeWine and the legislature coming down so hard on Delta 8?
No, and to be fair to the legislature, they have a coherent argument. Their perspective is purely about public safety.
Okay.
Their argument is that Delta-8 is currently the Wild West.
Because nobody is checking what's in it.
Right. It's largely unregulated. There are serious concerns about heavy metals, solvents, inconsistent potency. But the biggest card they play is the children card.
Ah.
They argue that because these are sold in gas stations, often with packaging that looks like candy or features cartoons, they are aggressively marketing to kids.
Which admittedly is a valid concern. Nobody wants unregulated psychoactive candy sold next to the gum.
Absolutely. No rational person argues for that.
Yeah.
So they view this ban as a public safety necessity.
But the counter-argument would be, why not just regulate the packaging? Or put it behind the counter?
Exactly. That's what the opponents say. They argue, set an age limit, ban the cartoon packaging, mandate testing. But instead, the legislature decided to nuke the entire retail channel.
Right.
Critics argue this isn't about safety. It's about forcing these products exclusively into the hands of the licensed cannabis industry.
And that leads us perfectly into the politics of this, because when I looked at who is supporting what, my head started spinning. This creates some very strange bedfellows.
It really does. If you're used to the old politics of the pot lobby versus the government, you need to throw that map away.
So let's break down the players. On the proponent side, supporting SB 56, we obviously have Governor DeWine and the GOP legislature.
Right, that tracks.
They want safety control, tight regulation. They were never huge fans of legalization to begin with.
Right, that's the law and order block.
Right.
But here is the twist. Standing right next to them, linking arms, is the Ohio Cannabis Coalition.
And that is the licensed dispensaries, the legal weed industry.
Correct. The legal, licensed, tax-paying marijuana industry is supporting the government's crackdown.
That is fascinating. You'd think they would want less regulation, less government interference. Why on earth are they siding with the people trying to restrict the law?
It's simple, brutal economics. Connect the dots. Who is the licensed dispensary's biggest competitor right now?
The gas station selling Delta-8 for half the price.
Bingo. The Delta-8 market is eating their lunch. If you can get a legal high at the corner store for $20, you might not drive to the dispensary to pay 50+ tax.
So they want the competition eliminated.
They want a monopoly on the molecule. They want those competing products banned or moved strictly into their own stores. It's a classic case of what economists call regulatory capture.
Wow. So it's just a turf war.
In many ways, yes. They are trading the concept of cannabis freedom for market share.
Okay, so who is on the other side? Who is actually fighting this?
The opponents are a coalition called Ohioans for Cannabis Choice. Now, this sounds like a grassroots consumer group, and it is partly, but it's largely funded by the hemp industry.
The vape shops.
The vape shops, the CBD retailers, the manufacturers of Delta-8, these are the people facing business extinction.
And I assume the regular voters are in there somewhere too.
Yes, the consumer advocates. These are the groups arguing against the recriminalization traps we discussed, the trunk rule, the packaging rule. Their argument is principled. The legislature is subverting the democratic process.
It's such a messy, complicated web. You have the anti-drug politicians teaming up with big weed to crush the mom-and-pop hemp shops. You couldn't write a script this weird.
It really highlights that the cannabis industry has matured. It's no longer a movement. It's a business.
Right.
And businesses protect their interests, even if it means siding with their old enemies.
So that brings us to today, February 6, 2026. The law is signed. It's sitting there, ticking down. What is happening right now to stop it?
We are in the middle of a veto referendum.
Okay, I want to pause on that term because it sounds like civics class jargon, but it's actually a really powerful tool. Unpack that for us.
It's a mechanism in the Ohio Constitution that lets citizens challenge a law passed by the legislature. It's basically a stop button. If petitioners can gather enough valid signatures, SB 56 is paused.
So it doesn't take effect?
It cannot take effect until the voters have their say in November.
That's a huge power. But I imagine hitting that button is incredibly difficult.
Difficult is an understatement. The timeline has been brutal for the organizers. They filed the petition back in December.
Right after the bill was signed.
Immediately. But then they hit a wall. On January 13th, Attorney General Dave Yost rejected their initial summary language, calling it misleading.
Was it actually misleading, or was that a delay tactic?
Depends on who you ask, but the effect was a delay. It forced them to go back, rewrite, and resubmit. It wasn't until just a few days ago, February 3rd, that Yost finally certified the new language.
So they lost weeks of valuable time. But as of right now, they have the green light.
They have the green light, but they are running a sprint in the middle of a marathon. They need to collect approximately 250,000 valid signatures.
250,000 people.
And it's not just a raw number. Those signatures have to come from at least 44 different counties.
Oh, I see. So you can't just stand outside a stadium in Cleveland and get them all in one weekend.
Exactly. You need broad geographic distribution. You need a ground game that covers half the state.
And the deadline.
Mid-March.
Oh.
They have to file these signatures before the law takes effect on March 20.
Wait, let me do the math. It's February 6th. They just got certified. They have, what, 5-6 weeks total?
Less than that, realistically. It is an immense hurdle. Collecting that many verified signatures in the dead of winter in less than 2 months is a logistical nightmare.
So the drama right now isn't about whether voters like the law. It's purely a logistical race. Can they physically get the papers signed in time?
That is the only question that matters today. If they fail, SB 56 goes into effect on March 20. The trunk laws, the packaging rules, the Delta 8 ban, it all becomes law. The referendum dies.
But if they do get the signatures?
Then the law is frozen. Everything stays as it is under the original Issue 2 rules until November. And then the voters decide.
Okay, let's play that out. Say they pull off the miracle, they get the signatures, we go to the ballot in November. What does a yes or no vote actually mean?
It can be very confusing, so let's be crystal clear. You are voting on the legislature's bill.
Okay.
So a no vote on the referendum would repeal SB 56. It would mean voters are rejecting the legislature's changes.
So no means no to the changes. No, leave it alone.
Correct. A yes vote would approve the legislature's changes.
Ah.
It would mean the voters agree with the new restrictions.
Got it. Yes means yes, fix the law. No means no, we liked it the way it was.
Precisely. But first, they have to survive March.
And that is why you're going to see a flurry of activity in Ohio over the next few weeks.
It really brings it home how much this impacts the listener. If you're in Ohio, this isn't abstract politics. This is about whether you can drive with a bag of gummies in your passenger seat next month.
It affects anyone who drives with cannabis, anyone who grows a few plants, and anyone who relies on that vape shop down the street.
And it raises such a huge question about our democracy.
What's that?
The nature of the will of the voter.
Yeah.
If 57% of people say we want X, and the legislature immediately says, actually, for your own safety, we're giving you Y, where is the line?
That is the fundamental tension, isn't it? At what point does public safety become a subversion of democracy?
And then you layer on the corporate interest. It forces us to ask, does the licensed cannabis industry actually care about the movement, or do they just care about their quarterly earnings?
History suggests that once an industry becomes legitimate, market share becomes the only metric that matters. They pull the ladder up behind them.
It's a cynical thought, but maybe a realistic one. We are going to be watching this signature count very closely. March 20 is the date to circle on your calendar.
Absolutely. We will know very soon if the voters get another say or if the legislature has the final word. We'll leave it there for today. Thanks for diving in with us.
My pleasure.
Okay, so that's all the information about the SB 56, what the bill is, who's behind it, the ins and the outs, as well as the voter referendum, what it'll do. So again, let me know, do you guys like that? Do you not like that? Let me know below in the comments. It's the only way I'll be able to improve my content for you guys. And I'll be real, I don't get paid for any of this. I do this as a passion project because I love every single one of you and I want to see you guys succeed. With that being said, the voter referendum. As I said before, previously in the very beginning, I will be going around and collecting signatures. I will be one of the volunteers. Currently, as of this weekend, today is Friday night, I just got off work, I'm about to go into work tomorrow. I'm going to be taking the training on how to go around collecting signatures on Monday or Tuesday. At that point, I will start scheduling out places and times that I will be in different counties, so spread that information out for everyone to know. I will not be the only volunteer collecting signatures by any stretch of the imagination. Where a lot of these guys messed up, as they said in the podcast episode there, Big Hemp is sponsoring a very large amount of this referendum. Now, keep in mind, they're not the only ones doing it, and they're not the only ones funding it. I've paid into it, my friends have paid into it, we all plan to. And if you guys would like to, go to noonsb56.com. You can volunteer to register to collect signatures, as well as just find more information out about what's going on and to donate to the cause. We definitely need the help. As of right now, as for this weekend, there are people collecting signatures. I don't know the times and places. The committee itself is actually working with a paid group that actually does that thing professionally. So they are collecting, I just don't know where. When I get that information, I will make sure that all of you have it. With that being said, when I know where I will be, I will post it out as early in advance as I can. I'm in Lake County. I will be going to Cuyahoga County, surrounding counties such as Ashtabula, Trumbull potentially. We need all of you guys. So if you guys are willing to host a spot, let me know. I would love to come to your guys' places and just host to be able to collect signatures. We really, really need the help. I think that's all I really got for you guys. I hope you guys hope to see you guys in the next one. Wow, I just messed up at the very end. All right, guys, Rodney Hash out. Peace.